Hello, everybody. Welcome to IST 140. I'm, of course, Professor S. This is today's lecture. Let's get into it. So, first thing we did was we talked about assignments. So, the basic format for the modules is going to be this, where you have the readings that you do on top of the Zybooks things, and then you have the Zybooks, and then you have programming assignments. So the readings, they're pretty self-explanatory. It talks about the objectives, goes through similar things that we've talked about in class. You're supposed to read by these dates here. And then notice that there's the dates for these as well. These are when these are due. So the Zybooks, notice that this says Chapter 1, all participation. So if you look into the Zybooks here, in Chapter 1, that's the one that I have selected right here, we have the participation for all these sections that are the non-lab sections. You go through each one of these, you make sure you do all the participation activities, and you're good. Now, what happens if you do the challenge activities? You'll learn a little bit extra. Is it going to hurt your grade if you don't do the challenge activities? Nope. It can only help you if you go through them. So don't worry about them. I'm not telling you to do them, and I'm also not going to tell you don't try, because I think it's helpful practice. But I am saying that it's not part of your Zybooks grade. And so if you notice, you have the Zybooks, Introduction to Zybooks. In this part, there is a couple of things. So it says the Zybooks training interleaved input-output. Oh, and the basics. That's what we're doing. Those are the different points that we're doing. And somehow they came up with, I guess it's double. I don't know how the math got here, but it'll be like your grade here will be it will be out of 10 points, and it's for these two assignments. I'll probably fix this after I make this video. But it'll be like 10 points each. Or 5 points each, I guess, since this is 10 points. And so this will walk you through if you have questions about using Zylabs, and it's just these two you'll be graded on. There will be more labs to come. There will be more programming to do. Really, the thing is that Chapter 1 is to kind of introduce you to Java, so we can start learning about Java, getting it set up, that sort of thing. And the second week of class, we'll work on giving on a quiz related to that, but we'll talk about actually next class. But yeah, so go through, make sure you do the Zylabs, and make sure you follow the directions as to when they are due. They are due, in this case, they're due the 21st. Okay, so make sure you get them done before then. Yeah. All right. There's the Zybooks. We talked about those. All right. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is the programming. So in class, I gave students time to work on that, but I also tasked them with something else. And this is kind of exploring the print function. So notice we have println. When we run this program, look what happens. It runs and it prints. There you go, hello world, whatever I put in here, right? And so notice I didn't capitalize hello. There, I capitalize it now. It runs, thinks about it, now it does hello world, right? It does other things too, and that's kind of one of the things that we kind of explored. Like, for instance, if I do like 2 plus 3, or just 2, notice it's not green anymore. In my case, this is like a cyan sort of thing. And so what that is like, notice that's different kind of thing for Java, right? Before, like when it was in quotes, it's just green, right? And so that's saying the exact same thing. It ends up making it similar. But notice, like if I do 2 plus 3, notice those are both blue, right? Or I don't know, periwinkle? I don't know. But anyways, notice that it's 5, because 2 plus 3 is 5, right? Notice what happens when I put them both in quotes. Okay. Now they're all green. And now it says 2 plus 3. Huh. Another thing that's interesting, watch this. So we have the 2 and the 3 here like this, right? And now look, what do you think is going to happen with this? It says 23 now. What it did was it took the 2 and it took the 3, and since it's in quotes, it's called, that's what we're going to call a string, and it's looking at those characters. So it's no longer considering it a number, it's looking at the 2 character, and so when we're adding, we're doing this fun thing called concatenate, and you're joining 2 strings together. Watch this. So if I take out the quotes, and I run it, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's going to be 5 or do you think it's 23? It's 23. That's neat, huh? All right. The other thing is like you don't have to put in, these are called literals because it's like literally putting in the string or literally putting in the numbers. We can also use variables, and we're going to be talking about variables in the next module, but we can kind of introduce them here. And so notice that here I have created this variable, and we'll go over the variable creation process later. So don't worry about like what the heck int means and that. But notice that I'm storing a number to this thing called 8. Or sorry, I'm storing 8 to this thing called num. Okay, and so that when I run it, notice that it prints 8 because 8 is whatever was stored for num. And also notice that since if I do like add 2, do you think it's going to concatenate, or do you think it's actually going to find the sum of those 2 numbers? Let's check it out. Look at that. It adds them together, right? So anyways, the reason why I'm kind of going through this is not for my own exploration. I already knew what this is going to be because I've done this a few times. But it's to kind of help like model like the exploration of Java that I hope that you can try to do. One of the things that helps the learning process is just trying things. You're going to be given problems that it's not going to be immediately apparent, and you need to work through kind of figuring out how to do it. See, the thing is like programming, as we've talked about before, is like it's like a few different parts. So it's very similar to learning a language, but it's also kind of its own thing at a time. And so we're kind of exploring both of those things. So as a language, how is it similar to language? So the thing is like in this case, thinking about what's going to happen, kind of like we use system out.println before, right? And so we can kind of get an idea so that if I put 2 and I put like 3 here, and let's say that let's just say I leave that in quotes, right? You already know that that's going to be 3 because of the context. Now, we didn't go over every single thing that you can put in a whatever it's called in the method, and that's what this is. It's called a method. We just gave you an example of something before, like hello world, and then we just went from there, right? So it's just like using those context clues from previous things to kind of figure out what's going on. That's a lot of things that happen in language, right? And you're definitely going to see that in some of the Zybooks things, because it's going to say like, we haven't got into like what scanner is and things like that, and we'll get into that later. Not, it's going to be pretty quick, but not this section. And so the idea is it's like not expecting you to know how to create variables or know how to use scanner, which is like how we input variables. We'll get into that later. It's really just using what we know so far to kind of figure out what's going on. Like, so what do we know so far? Well, we know, like I've told you before, like every Java program has a main method, public static void main. So we know that everything that we're going to see for the first 4 or 5 chapters are going to be in that main method. Okay. So we see things in that. So we know that that's like part of the main method. And we know that it's going to output something. That's what this is. Okay. Now, as I was talking about with the other part, which is like kind of figuring out the programming thing, it's going to be kind of using context clues, but it's just playing around with stuff. It's like what we were just doing here, where we were trying like the 3 plus num. What do you think is going to happen? Look at that. It's 3, 8. Interesting, right? So it's just like trying stuff, trying to figure out the problems, that sort of thing. And so to help with that, what I asked students to do was figure out what is the difference between this and this. So these, again, are methods. You can tell these are methods because they have their characters, parentheses, and then something inside. Now, not all methods have something inside of them, but they all have something on the outside, parentheses, and that's a method. That's how we're using methods. So we're using this method here called println and print. Okay? Well, I'm tasking you, see if you can figure out the difference. Here, so when I run this, well, they both have 38, but there's something significantly different about them. Okay? See if you can figure it out. Anyways, I think that's good for today. Hopefully you found this useful. We'll talk more about Module 1 next class. See you later. Bye. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please press the like button below. It lets me know I'm doing something right. If you have any questions about any of the content, please send a message to both me and the rest of the teaching team in Canvas, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Don't send it through normal email. You will not get as fast response. If you have any suggestions for how I can make these videos better, please leave in the comments below. Don't forget to roundhouse kick the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified for the next video. Anyways, I think that's good for now. See y'all later. Bye.